Welcome to TradeTheNBI.com. This is Jones, reporters for the 7th of October and back in Italy. So, welcome to the Amalfi Coast, which is where I'm at right now. So, brief here. No action really taking place. I mean, we're just getting this back and forth upside down. The reality is, I expect us to maintain this as well as continue to move positive. The numbers appear to be, at least from an election standpoint, moving along with what is the expected nature of things. And so, as long as that's the case, I think we should expect to see more of the same. Now, the interesting thing is with the amount of fund money in that, and we started seeing coming in right on time, you had plenty of selling into it. So there is still some trepidation. I think that's worth bearing in mind, and meaning you have to be more cautious because there's going to be, like I've said before when we started this month, a bit more gyration, particularly as we head up against another debate coming up, which they don't tend to have that big an influence. Really, what they're watching are all the individual states that make up any possible electoral thing. And right now, HRC has that pretty much locked up at this particular point. NQ slightly ahead of the others, and then the Dow has been a little bit weaker, but it kind of made up some ground on that. So I think that this is where we're going to start to see that balancing, things smoothing out. There's always going to be a flight to quality under any kind of strain in the market. The big surprise has been oil breaking out past the range, which was kept right over here. And I think when you see that with the red DOC here, the cyan underneath, that is still a continuation buy from the blue signal that we got way back over here. Yeah, it's fine. There's just an imbalance in this particular point. They're going to take it. The euro taking a bit of a beating, back down to 111 here on the downside. But again, we're not even at the top sides of the range. We've been hovering right in this midline, right around the 111 and a half range for quite some time now. And there's just no impetus for it to change. This is the thing. I mean, TLT promised you that there was no way it was justifiable to support where it was. And sure enough, we returned to the dip below the red line back here on the extreme. And we're now back below the red line again. So any pop is still going to come, and we want to revisit that. And TLT. Likewise, we had that view there. Now gold took a significant plummet off the DOC spread that started up here as we broke below the green EBM. And once you do that, short covers it. And short's way ahead of it. I'd be right around that 121 for a turnaround point on the short, following it lower. You still have declining shakeout, and you can end up quite a few days under the red line on the extreme GLD. As an example, here's a 5K enlarge that. Slight adjustment being in a different location changes the overall image size, but you can see we ended up with a nice move lower for the most part throughout the day. This isn't my right 5K. Let me grab my other one. Okay, here's the proper chart. Now 5K tick here. So we started the day, continuation move lower. We ended up with no real dips until we got over here. We ended up with a nice orange below with the steel above the 7.5. It dipped below. Gave buy. Where did that take place? Let's line up here. Where was that about? 2147 range. And it slided up before producing a new short signal that came through. And that's really what we're looking at this particular point. Not much change. Getting back to close to even to where it was, but it had a nice little dip there. Then we finally dipped back right here below the red on the DOC. So overall, I think it's still slightly weak bias, but we could be in for a little buy signal right here. Shakeout has been above the, and you can see how overbought it got very quickly on that nice little bounce. And then finally, once it started to break down below the shakeout 15 line here, I'm starting to get a little bit of a breakdown. But the key for us is seeing that orange fitting between a DOC spread of the cyan and red, and that's where it's been until it just broke down there, and that's what caused the pop that we finally saw right there, just in the last couple of bars. So that's the current pre-market action, still a little bit weak, but overall, pretty consistent. I think that just keep following it as we get the readings and continue to do well with it. As always, though, I will check in periodically. I'm going to be heading to Positano here in a few minutes But I should be able to check in later as the evening goes on here because of the generous time change difference. It's a lot better than the West Coast where it's really early in the morning. As always, though, we'll talk later.